Here in the West, amongst other parts of the world, we have a car problem, or rather, an infrastructure problem from cars. Cars are the only viable way of getting around in many parts of the world. And it really doesn't have to be like that, which is exemplified by the few places in the world where you don't need a car to get around. There's walkable cities, they exist. And there's a lot of channels that can articulate the problem much better than I can. But I still wanted to talk about this, namely because I only started driving about 6 months ago. I'm 36 and I just got a car this year. And people ask me if I like driving, and I tell them, fuck no. I hate driving. And honestly, anyone who tells me they do like driving is a red flag for me. I dated a girl who said that she used to drive to relax, and that just boggled my mind. Like, in order to relax, you get in a 2,000-pound machine and you start moving at speeds that are completely unnatural to man, and that helps you relax. It's just crazy. But today had two incidents back to back where people just pissed me off on the road. And I don't get road rage because I rode a bike for a long time, and I would get road rage on the bike because the way people treat you on a bike is just infuriating. So just being in a car is a million times worse, or a million times better in almost every situation. So even though I hate driving, obviously having a car is preferable to not having a car. But what I hate, or what I resent, is the fact that we need one, the fact that our cities and infrastructure is built to make them the only viable way to get around. And it's been like that since the invention of the automobile, and since automotive companies like Ford lobbied our governments and politicians to make it that way. They ripped up the train tracks, and they made sure that they weren't going to invest heavily in public transit or things like bike lanes, bike paths. And so now fast forward to today, and most of us live in a suburban hellscape. Today I wanted to talk about speeding because someone sped past me today, and I caught up with them at the light. And I told them they were driving like an asshole, and they just gave me the finger, and that was the end of that. It was a pointless, stupid interaction. But it just made me wonder why I felt the need to tell them that they drive like an asshole, because I knew that it wasn't going to make it a difference. But something just rocks me to my core when I see people driving like an asshole. Basically, the way I look at it is, if you get in an accident speeding and the only thing you did wrong was that you were moving at a speed where you couldn't react to someone else's mistake, in my opinion, that's your fault more than the person who made the mistake. You're intentionally doing something wrong. Most of the people that do something wrong on the road, it's negligence, which I think is more forgivable than just aggressive driving. But either way, both are wrong. You both have fault. But if you were traveling at a reasonable speed and you had time to react, best case scenario is you can stop in time. You can completely avoid a collision. But the worst case scenario is there's nothing you can do to avoid the collision. Even if you're traveling at a normal speed, you still would have crashed. Like, say someone merged on the highway right in front of you and they were going really slow and you didn't have time to brake, or someone just switched lanes without signaling and switched like right in front of you and you couldn't brake in time. Even in an inevitable situation where a crash is unavoidable, I still think that if you're speeding and that happens, you're more at fault, because what would have been just a regular collision is now a potentially fatal collision, which is much worse of a situation than just a regular collision. So if you're watching this and you speed, you're a piece of shit. And you may be saying, oh, well, I'm a good driver, so I can speed. Yeah, but that doesn't matter, because part of being a good driver is anticipating other people's behavior on the roads and acknowledging that a lot of people out there are bad drivers and compensating for that. In situations like the ones I went over, where someone merges right in front of you going too slowly, or someone changes lanes right in front of you without signaling, and a crash is inevitable, it doesn't matter how good you are at driving, because there's already situations where even the best driver can get in an accident through no fault of their own. So that means there's no excuse for speeding, because it's just going to make situations like that more frequent. So that's why it's not a matter of skill. If you're a good driver, then you're a defensive driver. If you speed, then in my opinion, you're a shitty driver. And it's like I already said, we're already moving at speeds that are completely unnatural to man and would be unfathomable to our ancestors. And that's a privilege, not a right. So just chill the fuck out on the roads. Thank you. Bye.